Hello, everyone, and welcome to something that's going to be a little different here. So, first, this is going to be an audio podcast episode only. That is because what you are about to listen to is a recording of an interview done by my cousin and godmother. Um, Same person, my cousin, who is also my godmother, that my cousin made of my grandparents about 24, 25 years ago. So this was recorded, I believe, in 2002, which was a few years before my grandfather passed. And she interviewed them just about their lives, uh, just telling the story of their lives, basically. And I'm I'm making this public. I've already a few years ago took that interview, which was done on had to be probably one of the earlier generations of digital voice recorders. I took that interview and spent a fair amount of time kind of scrubbing the audio and mastering it to the best of my ability to make it available to my family. But I'm making it publicly available now to everyone, mostly as a memorial to my grandparents. My grandmother just passed away a few days ago, as of the date I'm recording this. So she passed away here in early 2026. My grandfather had passed about 20 years ago. Um, but I'm making this publicly available mostly as a memorial to them, just to help remember them. They were very instrumental in my life, very instrumental in raising me in the faith. Um, and I'm also putting this out there because we just don't have, I feel, in our world enough stories from our families, from earlier generations. You know, they my grandpa was born in the early 1920s, my grandma in the early 1930s. You know, my grandpa was born over 100 years ago. Now, like I said, this recording is from 20 years ago, shortly before he died. But to hear the story, um, to hear a man tell the story of his life from over 100 years ago is something special. To hear him tell it in his own words, just to hear the different way in which he spoke. My grandpa only spoke German actually up until the age of 6 or 7. So you know he grew up in Minnesota at a time when Minnesotans definitely had a Minnesotan accent. That's largely gone now. You know, I know Anthony talks about how he's got the Long Island accent, but his kids don't, and we're losing little local differences like that, right? And I just think it's important to try to save the memory of things like that as much as possible, just even to save the way in which someone spoke. Um, so yeah, I'm putting this out there kind of for posterity's sake. I think it's important for us and our children and grandchildren to hear stories of earlier generations. You know, I grew up on these stories. These stories about their lives helped form me as a person. Um, in my kids won't really get those. My oldest is 7, so he knew my grandma. He'll remember my grandma. Um, but my youngest Sebastian was just born in August. He'll have no memory of my grandma. He only got to meet her a few times, unfortunately. But through things like this, they can still grow up at least a little with their stories. So that's why I'm putting this out there. I know it's different. I know it's not Anthony's loud boisterousness. It's not what you're used to from Avoiding Babylon. If you don't like it, I understand. If you don't listen to it, I get it. No, No big deal, no problem. But hopefully a few of you enjoy it. And like I said, I'm doing this mostly as a memorial and mostly for posterity's sake. So if no one else listens to it or no one enjoys it, no skin off my back. But anyways, that's what this is. You'll probably get to know me a little bit more through this recording. You'll get to know my family a little, for better or worse. But anyways, thank you all, and here it is.
2002, and today we're tape recording Grandpa and Grandma Quast. And Grandpa, how about we have you begin? Why don't you tell us when you were born and where you were born?
Well, I was born March 13th, 1923, and I was born in Penicillin, Minnesota, and that's close to Sandstone. It was on 61 at that time, and my dad had a Ford dealership in town at that time, and selling Fords and repairing them and everything, and we lived right in town. So, and we lived there 2 years in town. So that's where I was born.
Wasn't your dad there before you were born?
Oh, he was sure. He had the garage before he got married. He came back to Winston, and my mom was in Winston. And of course, Winston was their hometown. So I don't know how come he got way up there to start a garage. I think somebody that he knew lived up there, but he had a repair shop for a garage.
And he went to Michigan to pick up these new cars, you said?
Oh yeah, he got on a boat in Duluth and went to Michigan, picked up his new cars, and of course they called it a midway garage, and I think was why they did that was because it was halfway from St. Paul to Duluth. And it was right off the 61, so, and it was the main route to Duluth. But what else you want me to say?
Well, he lost it. He lost the garage.
Well, you want me to say all that?
Yeah, come on.
Oh, well. Of course, in depression, of course, he had the depression started, and he couldn't sell no cars, and he had this and that, and kind of went broke. So he had a deal that he could, a guy take the garage for a farm. So that's what they did. And he started farming, and of course up there you couldn't raise no crops. It was too cold, too short of a season for corn, and the ground wasn't good enough for grain. All you could do is raise cattle and grass, and so he couldn't raise too much up there. And the property tax was so high due to the new school and bus system they started up there that he couldn't pay the taxes, and the county took the farm for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So he lost the farm. So they loaded all his cattle and machinery and everything up on a train, and they took it to Winston. And that's where they rented the farm and started all over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's...
and they rented farms all your life until you were in the Army. They finally bought a home.
Yeah. They were running all the time till the first home they bought was in Windsor,
town.
in town.
And Dad was semi-retired, so he bought that or rented the standard service.
Yeah. Him
Him
and
and Ray.
my brother ran a standard service station in my hometown. Of course, then my dad worked for Melbourne Brothers, which was they made different things. So he did work. He worked how many quarters? I think 12 quarters under Social Security to get Social Security. So he did work after he was 65 even to get so many quarters, and that way he got Social Security. Because on a farm, you never paid into Social Security, so he never belonged to it. But he worked for somebody else for so many quarters and to get Social Security.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had nine brothers and sisters.
No, with you there was 9.
Huh?
With you there's
Yeah.
9.
9. And
8 brothers and sisters.
I was the oldest one. And my sister Diane was the youngest, and I wasn't home no more then.
When she was born?
She was born, yeah.
Why don't you name them there?
And Ray was, of course, he was, he was born in 25, and Ern was born in 26, and Rose was born in 27. Mars was born in 29. Bill was born in 32. Mary was born in 35, and Joe was born in 36, and Diane in 43. So, had all them.
When do you remember your mom having the first baby? You don't remember like Ern and Ray and
No.
those, but she
I don't.
always had a midwife.
I know Ray was, she had a lot of trouble with him.
Dad, just stories you heard, but you don't remember that.
No. Well, the only one I remember was Mary. My dad was out in the field in the afternoon, and then my mom went out in the field to get my dad. My dad came right in, and that was real early, And he put the horses away and kind of cleaned up and dressed, he went to town. And that was, I'll get to about 6 o'clock. And my mom got all dressed up and went to, in the bedroom. And here comes the doctor. Doctor came in, and of course my dad was in there and everything, and pretty soon, man, there was a baby crying. And that was about 6, 7 o'clock. We were all up. We were all in the kitchen, And of course, the doctor left, and my mom got pretty sick, so they had to go get the doctor again. So that's the only one that I remembered. I don't remember none of the other ones.
You were 11 years old then.
Was that?
When Mary was born.
Yeah, I suppose.
That would be like Chase.
Yeah. The other ones, I don't remember that. Joe, I sure didn't remember him.
You should have. You must have been home.
Oh, but that was maybe in the middle of the night.
Oh, that could be.
Oh.
See, I was sleeping.
They didn't actually have doctors. They had a midwife, didn't they? Or was it a doctor?
No, doctors. I guess they had doctors most of the time. Most of the time, my grandmother was always there helping, But this time she wasn't, so I don't know how come.
Why don't you tell that story about your mom was out on the hay wagon when she was pregnant.
Oh, yeah, she.
Talk up though.
Of course, she always, even when she was pregnant, she helped on the farm. She, hauled hay and stuff like that. And once she, my dad had usually make in other words, there was a loader. The hay was put in windrows, in one straight row. And in the back of the hay wagon, they had a thing that picked up the hay, brought it up, and dropped it on a load, and dropped it in the wagon, hay wagon. And my dad made straighten it out and made good loads, and somebody was always driving it real slow, say, with the horses.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in the front of the hay wagon, they had like a ladder, because the load gets real high, and they used to get up on the ladder to hold your reins, steer your horses.
Mm-hmm.
And she was up there, and the ladder broke, and she fell down between the horses and on the pole, and she never went to the doctor, but she was sore for a long time, and they were scared that maybe something happened to the baby. But everything was all right. Different things. So I know once she had her leg was had a really funny, when she moves it up and down,
Mm-hmm.
her skin went up and down. See,
Funny scar.
a funny scar.
Our kids remember that, but the grandchildren don't.
Huh?
Our kids remember that,
Yeah.
but the grandchildren
Well,
don't.
anyhow, was on a grain binder, and you had to put a canvas on a grain binder, see? And she helped her dad put the canvas on, and she was in the front where they cut the grain off,
Mm-hmm.
and her brother was hooking the horses up. And when they were hooking the horses kind of jumped ahead and pulled the binder ahead, and the thing cut her leg,
Oh.
So, of course, they took her to the doctor, and here they cut the cord up. And when he got the cord together, it kind of sewed the skin right onto the cord. So every time he moved up, moved the cord, the skin went up and down. So that's
It's a terrible scar.
For the grandchildren, what was your parents' name? For the grandchildren that never met your mom and dad.
My dad was Robert. I don't know if he had a middle name. I don't think he did. And my mother was Marie. Or Mary? Marie?
She went by both Mary or Marie.
So,
Mostly Marie, though. Any more questions?
Do you want him to continue on more with his childhood, or do you want to talk about yours up to now?
No, talk about Christmases at your house, too.
Christmases?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, day before Christmas, there was no sign of Christmas. The only sign of Christmas was that my mom scrubbed the floor, nice clean floor. Before it was always dirty, full of mud, because everybody came in with their shoes.
Isn't this funny that he would remember that on Christmas?
Boy, I tell you, we could take off our shoes and we could walk around the house, and it was really nice, And there was no sign of Christmas. And of course, everybody went to bed, at the same time. Of course, we were all excited.
Yeah.
And so we would go to bed early, And next morning, get up. We have the tree was up, the crib was up, all the stuff was put out. We never got too much, but we got a fruit and peanuts, a lot of peanuts and candy and stuff like that, and everybody had their own space where they had their piles, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We got a few toys and stuff like that, and I know some years was better than some, but otherwise, never got too much.
And then you surely all went to church together.
Oh, sure, that's definitely. Sometimes it was so cold, and we had to hitch up the horse to pull the car around to get it started, because at that time your oils and everything was so bad that we had to fight like hell to get a car started. You know, when it was real cold, and the snow was deep, but it's roll you away. We went to church.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
What was your relationship like with your parents?
Like what? You mean like?
Did you hug and kiss and all those things?
No, I never remember being kissed by my mom or even hugged. You know, you don't hug or anything like that. Anyway, I don't ever remember kissing my mom or hugging my mom or my dad. You know, but we knew they, you know, they loved us, because they sure wouldn't put themselves out like they did. And,
what do you mean by that?
Well, just, you know, really taking care of us.
Worked so hard, yeah.
Yeah, working so hard and
going without themselves.
Oh, sure. So, but, you know, of course we didn't behave. We got it.
Mm-hmm.
We had strict discipline.
From who?
From mostly my mom. Boy, she was rough, I tell you. She, when we got too big, when she couldn't hit us no more with her hand, they had a spanking stick. But my dad he never said nothing. He never spanked us. But when he got mad at you, I never heard my dad swear once in my life. He said, "Doggone you," that's all he ever said.
Mm-hmm.
Even the horses or anybody, he wouldn't. I never heard him swear. And
when your dad owned the thrash machine, were they a little better off then? Did he make good money doing that?
Oh, he made good money. I don't know. I know. When he thrashed, you know, they begged all year to get the money.
Oh, from the other people.
Oh, sure. I know once he had even guarantee some checks, you know, cream checks and stuff like that. But he never got the money at one time. He had to beg for it all year long.
So why even do it?
Well, to get the money, to get, you know,
earn more money.
Yeah, because he had the machine, you know.
Where did he get the money to buy the machine?
Oh, that's before he was ever married. He had that.
Are you kidding?
Oh yeah. Well,
I thought that was on like Schmaltz's place there by Lester Prairie.
No. He was young. He had a thrash machine. He had a steam engine. He had a steam engine, and I remember the steam engine. Yeah, it blew the whistles, you know, and stuff like that. But he had the thrash machine before he went up to Finlayson. And when he was up in Finlayson, he had to come back every year to take care of his customers. So, no, he had that all the time. He had it till he quit farming.
Wow.
And later on, when I had left home yet, he had that big tractor and thrash machine. He thrashed every year.
Hard work. He was a hard-working man.
You know, to begin with, years ago, they never put, well, of course there was no combine, and they, when we were farming, we shocked all our corn, our grain, and left it dry, and then they had people with horses and wagons go pick them up and bring them to a thrash machine and thrash it out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, way before that, the farmers make big high stacks and just left their grain dry that way and stuff like that. And then my dad came and thrashed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he was still thrashing when it was snowing because there was no hurry,
Right.
So that was, they called stack thrashing. I remember when I came home from the army on a furlough. I went home. My dad was thrashing a neighbor, and he had stacks, and he didn't have enough help. So my dad got me to take the bundles off the stack and throw them in the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Me and another guy, Man, I didn't know how to do that. I couldn't kill myself trying to keep up, So that was when I was in service yet. They were still making stacks.
Why don't we talk about school? You going to school and then going to the textiles and then going on to war. And then we'll go over to Grandma to talk about all these things with her then. So you want to start with school?
Well,
When it started.
I remember, there was district schools. There was one-room schoolhouses way out in the country.
And that's what you describe as a district school.
Well, I guess every district had to have their own schools, see?
Mm-hmm.
But of course they don't now. They got the county got,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is now. But at that time, every district had their own school.
Mm-hmm.
And I know.
But how about when your mom took you the first time?
Well, that was right through our pasture, and there was one there close.
I mean, about talking German.
Well, yeah, they took us there, and of course there was no kindergarten, so I started with first grade. And when they took me to first grade, well, the teacher says I can't teach Germans, and the only thing I knew was German because my folks talked German at home, and that's why I learned how to talk. And so she says, well, I can't teach German. Well, I'm teaching them English, and that's what the rest of them are teaching. So she said, you go home for a year and learn English.
Mm-hmm.
And so my folks had to talk English at home. And that's how I picked it up. So I guess I was okay the next year, something like that. So I don't know how long I would stay in that school. I don't remember how many grades there was. There was a few years there. And then we went to a different district school, which is a little higher grades. I know I had to go to the neighbor and carry water for drinking, and we hauled wood in, made fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the morning, the first thing in the morning, the teacher had to make a fire,
Mm-hmm.
and out of wood. And then when we got to school, it was still cold. I know a couple of times I carried my lunch in a half-a-gallon pail, cereal pails,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a shelf across over the window, and put my lunch pail on that shelf. And when I go to eat it, it was the sandwiches froze to the bottom of the pails. So teachers had us put it by the stove, So
Okay, and why you changed schools? Your mom and dad rented it, and they
Yeah.
moved. They kept moving to a better farm each time.
Farms, yeah,
Bigger and better.
Farms, yeah.
So you went to a lot of different schools.
Well, that one, of course, that one was quite a ways, so we had to walk from there all the time. And when the snow was too deep, my dad took us with a sled and horses, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we walked.
How many of you were there then? Like you and Ray and Ern and Rose?
Well, I don't remember. I remember, yeah, me and Ern maybe. Rose, I think.
Ray is there too.
Huh?
Ray is older than Ern, so Ray must have been with you too.
Yeah. But then later on, we went to Lester Prairie School for 1 year or so. That was no district school. That was like a school like we have now, you know, in town. All
Public.
Public school, regular public school. And then we got, of course, some of us had to make First Communion and stuff like that. And I know once I was supposed to make First Communion, and I stayed with my grandparents, which was about 3 miles out of Winsett, we walked into town and go to Catholic school. Then we made our First Communion, and but then later on, I drove. When I started to drive, I drove most of the kids and us into town in Winsett, and went to the Catholic school. But first I had to haul milk, take milk to the creamery, and of course at home, at night, after school, I came home with the car.
Tell that story here now when you say you had to take milk to the creamery with them people, you said before, you'd take it to the creamery in Lester Prairie, and they were all Lutherans.
Yeah.
And what did they do to you?
Well, it was really a feed mill, you know. I had to take grain into the milling place in town in Lester Prairie, and I was kind of small, young, and you drive up and you have to throw the grain on top of the dock, and then they grind it and make cattle feed out of it, see. And I had a hell of a time getting it up there, because the trailer, my trailer was low and the dock was way up. And so I had to get that grain up there, And them guys the guys that were in there wouldn't help me, see. They tell me if I ate more meat on Friday, I could have got them things up there, see. And that's
How bad it was.
and they just don't help me. But they helped the guy ahead of him, the kid ahead of him.
Yeah.
Of course, they knew him, but they knew me too, So
How old were you when you were doing this?
well, I don't know. I wasn't.
14 maybe?
Yeah, I got no idea as far as age. But
Well, how
I
long
was old
was it?
enough to drive, Of course, you didn't have to be very old to drive at that age. But, of course, I told my dad that, and he went to talk to him. He mustn't have swore at him already. But he talked to him. In the first place, he got his own mill after a while.
Oh.
Yeah. We just, in the same way with the creamery, we had to haul milk to that Lester Prairie creamery, But they weren't that bad there, And that guy there was pretty nice. So yeah, it was terrible in Lester Prairie. They were genuine Catholic kids.
Oh.
Oh yeah, they were the old German Lutherans, Of course, Whistle was all German too, and they were Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
See, in even the old country, they were kind of, they were rivals, and naturally, Western Prairie and Wissett, which are 7 miles apart, they were regular rivals,
Right.
because the priest would preach on Sunday, not to go to any of them Lutheran dances or anything like that, because you're not supposed to, you might get hooked up with one of them girls or, So, and I know that the ministers said the same thing, because when I went to school, the kids used to tell me what the ministers used to tell them about the Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was terrible at that time, the way they preached against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, but...
And then from there, when did you go live with your uncle to work at the textile company?
In 43, 42.
Well, you said you were in the 8th grade.
Well, yeah.
Is that when you went to Ed's after the 8th grade?
Is that 14?
Well, I was in the 8th grade, and of course, I had to quit early that spring. Not
School.
quit, but help on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, and I just
Like in May when they start planting, Dad needed you at home, so you had to do that. So then in June when you were...
even the fall year, we school started and we had farm work to do, had wood to make, had this and that. I didn't go right away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then when I could go, when we doing the farm work, I was way behind.
Right.
So I had to struggle all the time, and then in spring I had to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 7th, 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
In 8th grade, when it come to exams, well, I quit. I stayed home, and I never did know if I passed. I never got the report card.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed home all that summer, and next winter, it was we had that terrible snowstorm that where a lot of people.
November 11th,
Yeah.
Armistice Day.
So right after that, I came to Winston. I came to cities here and got a job, and I worked about I don't know, a couple of years, 3 years. By that time,
In the textile mill?
Huh?
In the textile mill?
In the textile mill. Yeah, I got a job there underage. I wasn't. They weren't allowed to hire me, but I lied my age, and so they hired me.
Because Ed was your uncle and the boss there.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he got me a job there, and then worked there a few years. And then I quit there and went to Armors. So, and the weather was, you said we got about 17 cents. That friend of ours,
At the textile mill there.
17 cents an hour. But when I started at Armors, I know I got 47 cents an hour. So, of course, I don't know, but then I worked at Armors for a year, and then of course I only worked there, let's say about 8 or 9 months, and then it was a year, and then I figured I was going to, I heard in New Brighton they're getting $1 an hour, and all the hours you want.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Due to defense plans,
Yeah, it was a defense plan because the war broke out.
Yeah.
The Second World War.
The Second World War, yeah. And because things were, like even even a textile, we were making wipers for the Navy and the Army.
Now tell them what wipers are.
Wipers are old rags that people got rid of. They sold old rags to just about any, to the sheenies or whatever. And
You better explain what a sheenie is. There's a lot of grandkids who don't know what that is.
it's a guy that comes through the alley and hollers, rags, rags,
And you give them anything you had that you wanted to get rid of, like we do now with Goodwill and Salvation Army.
Of course, that could have been anybody, but most of them were Jews, So.
And most of them lived on the west side down there. Plato and in there now where the Red Cross is. Well, that's where all these rag sheenies lived. They all had a community there. And I think they sold them to the textile mills as they...
Well, there, and then they came from all over.
Yeah.
They came on big bales and stuff, and then I worked in a laundry room where we washed them all, and then they took them upstairs, and then they cut the buttons off, cut the collars off, and then they had made all nice wipers. Had heavy wipers like flannel. They had colored wipers. They had white wipers, and there were all sorts of things.
And what were the wipers for?
For anybody, garages bought them. The Navy bought them for their equipment. It's just a white thing. Wash things, white things. That's what they did, and that's what the textile was. We did there.
And then you left to go to Armours. And how long were you at Armours before you got drafted?
I would see what I was going to say is I worked for a year, and then I was going to go to
New Brighton.
And for $1 an hour, and I went to the Armours employment office and was going to tell them I'm going to quit. And so I, they can fill out my papers and get my check and stuff like that. He says, okay, it's all right, you quit. He says, but as soon as you quit, we turn your name in a draft board. So he says, in 3 weeks, you're going to be drafted. Well, they don't pay to go to New Brighton for 3 weeks. I won't even get. So I just stayed there at Armours. In about 6 weeks, I was drafted anyhow. See, so, but at least that way, when I got back, I had my job. See, they had to save my job, and I didn't have no intention of going back when I got back from the Army. But I was just taking time off and stuff like that, and pretty soon I was broke. Oh man, I better go to work. My job was waiting there, so I might as well go to work and get a few checks, and then I'll look for a better job, a different job. And of course, I was there 38 years. I never did quit. So,
And what did you do at Armours?
smoke wieners. I started to smoke off the first day. First day I made hall sawdust and made fires and smoked wieners, and 38 years later I was still there. So I mean, of course I was a head smoker after a while, but after all the old guys died off, so
You had 5 weeks vacation?
oh yeah, 5 weeks vacation.
For many years.
I made enough money for my wife to sell to, stay home and take care of the kids.
What year did you go into the war when you worked at Armours?
43, 1943.
And where did you go? Where were you stationed?
We left here, got inducted at Fort Snelling here, took physical at Fort Snelling. The first day I got Fort Snelling, I put my clothes in a locker room and was stripped naked all day long, just going from one area to one dock to another till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we got our clothes. And that's all I ate first too.
Nightmare.
Well, all them guys, stripped naked, and there was no place to put your hands. I mean, I had no pockets. That was terrible, I tell you. But that's how they did it. But then I was classified as a heavy equipment maintenance man, and here the order came in. They wanted, I don't know how many companies of medics at Camp Barkley. So they shipped a whole troop train out of there and went down to Camp Barkley. And it makes no difference what you was. We had carpenters, we had masons, that had trades. They were all went down to Camp Barkley for medics. We were trained as medics, first aid, like in the infantry and stuff like that, and stuff.
From Camp Barkley went to Camp Roberts.
No, Camp Barkley went to Longview, Texas. I was stationed after we had basic, stationed in the General Hospital, where all these guys come back, with. And I was just there it wasn't bad, Of course, we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Never had no time off. As a ward boy, he took care of patients on a ward.
Is that where you gave shots?
Yeah, I gave shots on there. And I'll never forget, I was getting penicillin shots. At that time, penicillin was new, and you got shots, every 3 hours or something like that. And I thought to myself, boy, I got a real small needle, and gave the guy shots with needles. Boy, they like that, They all wanted me to give shots. And until they found out, the doctor found out the kind of needle I was using, I damn near got court-martialed. I was supposed to use them big, long ones to get deep, Boy, that didn't go over very good.
Guys liked them, but probably wasn't doing any good.
Yeah, you wake them up during the night, they used to clock like boy. Anyhow, that was Longview. Then we got transferred out of there, a bunch of us guys, and set up a field hospital.
Where?
Huh?
Where?
We got transferred to Camp Roberts, California, and trained for a field hospital.
It was kind of desert like there at Camp Roberts?
Well, yeah, it was, it's like a desert.
Yeah.
And we, formed a field hospital, and of course we had our own equipment and everything, tents and everything. And we trained, and because we had trained, so in case we have to retreat or move out, we packed everything, the patients and everything, all the equipment, and I think about 25 minutes we were on the move. We had all the trucks moving out, so that was pretty good. Of course, then we boxed all our equipment. And were to be shipped overseas. And we had orders to leave, but we didn't know where. And so all our equipment went on the boat, and we went on the plane. We got transferred down at Miami, Florida, and we had a big fancy hotel the Army had. And went right on the beach and everything, and the Army had the whole thing. And of course, that's where we had Thanksgiving dinner, and it was a nice dinner too. Then we all left on the plane, different planes. We stopped in Puerto Rico, and I know we stopped on an island somewhere in the middle of the ocean. I don't know where the island that was. It only had one tree on it.
Oh.
Yeah, and to refuel or something like that. And then we had to take off before night, because at night the birds come on the runway where it's warm. So we had to make sure that we get up.
Was it a small plane?
It was C-47. Sure, two prop plane. Sure, all we did is, you put our luggage in the middle, and then we had seats on, against the wall, face each other.
Like a troop.
Like a troop, yeah. And we got to Karachi, India, and found out that Jap took our area. We were supposed to set up a field hospital for the Chinese in Burma. And the Chinese were fighting the Japanese. And of course, they fought for 100 years already been, but anyhow, by the time we got there, the Japs took over that area, so we didn't have no place to go. So I don't know what happened to our equipment. We formed a station hospital in Tezpur.
Yeah, but now you said before this was getting now about Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
On your way to Tezpur. Because how do you remember it was Christmas time?
Well, it was Christmas Eve when we was on the way. No, Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve. And of course, on Christmas Day, we were still on the troop train. But
a troop train in India?
Yeah.
Wasn't it just their regular trains?
Well, it was their regular train, but
your troop was on it.
Our troop was on there, sure.
Tell them about the train.
The train, all it was is like, it had just open windows, had a roof on it, had the seats on it through the middle, and then on each side, and there was a hole in the floor for you to go.
Still like that, Grandpa.
Is it?
Yep.
The trouble is
2002, it's still like that.
When you look down, there's a hole in there, but the wheel is there, and while the train is moving, you go there, the wheel keeps going.
Throwing us back up, thank you.
But
let's stop this and turn this over.
Well, why don't you wait till it ends? Looks like it's going to end.
Yeah.
All the reason why I remember was Christmas Eve, because it didn't bother me too much. Sure, I was lonesome and this and that. But it was, it was real dark at night. There was no lights on a train or anything like that, but the moon was shining through the tree. And guy was kind of knew the guy, and I knew he had married. He was married. He had a kid at home and stuff like that. And when the light shined on his face, the moon shined on his face between the trees, I knew he was crying. So, tears shined on him. That made me feel bad, So, then we got to Tezpur, and we set up our station hospital. We took care of 3 airports. See, these airports were in India. It was we were hooked to a supply line. In other words, to haul supplies from the United States to China. That was the only thing that we were there for. And all these airports were just where they shipped their stuff, gasoline, anything the Chinese wanted, we hauled it to them.
Weren't they coming from Britain too, though? Great Britain, you said?
No.
Weren't there British soldiers?
Yeah, British soldiers were there, but they were there because they owned the country.
Oh, that's right. They did own it.
Yeah. They were stationed there, or they were residents. They were, and so but it was terrible in that place. Hot, man. Heat rash by the Lord. You never cooled off, you never dried off. It was really hot. Of course, I kind of lucked out. There were about 8, 9 of us kind of lucked out. We was stationed transferred to set up a station, a dispensary in a rest camp up in Schlong. Schlong.
That was transport.
No, we were in Texas.
Oh.
Where we were going is in Schlong, and that's way up in the Himalayan mountains.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go halfway up till 12 o'clock. Then there was area where you stopped, then at 1 o'clock, then you went the other way. So if you didn't make it, boy, you had to get off the side or go over the cliff or something.
Or the traffic was one way.
Yeah, the traffic is one way. In other words, halfway up, you meet there. Okay, about 1 o'clock, then you go the other way. Everybody meets halfway in one place. See? So, but that was nice up there. It was we wore a little heavier clothes. Weather was nice and cool. The scenery was pretty, and the people were more civilized. They were Catholic people, and they were Christians, and they educated, and a lot of them spoke English. So it was nice. We just set up a dispensary for a rest camp. So the rest camp, I don't know. There was, the scenery was nice and stuff, and the weather was nice. So, of course, I and another guy got stationed downtown. And we set up a dispensary, a treatment, a prophylactic place. And because the Army was checking 100 prostitutes, you had a prostitute had to go in once a month to be checked. And if they didn't, then they were off limits. The GIs couldn't see it. And the GI got caught there, you got a fine or you got punished. So, of course, we at the station where they come from treatment. Because if you didn't take this treatment and you got their nail disease, you had to pay for your own hospital. Where if you had a signature proof that you had treatment, then of course you didn't have to. So that's what we were down there for. So then of course that only lasted about 8 months. And we went back down that valley. Boy, it was hot and stinky, and dead animals laying all, buzzards eating them up.
Sacred cows.
I'll never forget.
Burning dots.
Well, that was in Calcutta. I didn't see them water buffaloes, stuff like that. We went to the first sergeant was captain, and he knew I was captain, so he kept bugging me. I'm going to church Sunday. I'm leaving at so and so. And of course, he was guilty. So yeah, you won with it. But it was a mission, And, I don't know who the mission was. French or the missionary that was there, and of course, he liked the GIs because they gave him some money, The rest of them never did. You get no letter from. I'll never forget, there was a pretty old, I don't know how old, couldn't say, but she was pretty old, and she was pretty born, a girl that walked into camp, stark naked, and she was well developed,
Mm-hmm.
Boy, the guys really, took off on that, but the first sergeant took her right away and dressed her and brought her to that mission place. Because she was something wrong with her,
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't all right. But then, from there, the war was getting just about over with, and I think they closed it. They closed that hospital up, and then whoever was in the army longer, they went for the point, and the 5 points they went home right away and got discharged, and of course I was low points. You spend a month in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
a month in the service for 1 point, and I had to spend a whole year in the service where a married person got 12 points. See, so if he was married, he had 12 points right away, and so you go home. Whereas then I got transferred over to this place and transferred to that place, and just all over. So,
Tell us about your view on volunteering in regards to that.
well, when I first went in,
You were talking about points first. Finish that.
okay, when I was I was low on points, and then they come out with a deal that you go to this form this organization to go up in the Himalayan mountains. You got to hike up, or they take you up with a helicopter, or to check all these plane accidents and crashes and stuff all over, and they want to see what they want to report of it.
Mm-hmm.
And see if you can find dog tags and stuff. And when you got them all covered, when that project is done, you go home. So you got make no difference how many points you have. And like that, I thought, boy, that's a deal. I think I better sign up on that. Then I thought, well, Jesus, I get up there and I get bit one of them snakes, or break my leg, or do something, Oh, the hell with it. I'll do it. And here, I was discharged and home. I mean, out, home, and everything, and they were still up in the mountains. So I was glad about that. And the first time I knew about volunteering is when I got down to Camp Barkley, and it was all tar paper shacks, and streets are all dirt, and of course we had to kind of straighten it out and everything, and the sergeant asked anybody want to drive truck? Well, everybody raised their hand. Then they said, okay, you. Go get yourself a truck and a supply room. And here they gave wheelbarrows. And the rest of the guys, held about 100 of us, who, took one shovel to fill a wheelbarrow. And them guys, they had to run their wheelbarrow over there, and they just run the hell out of them guys, And that was, I thought to myself, well, that's a good lesson right there. So I never volunteered.
Okay, Grandma, why don't you start on where and what date you were born on, except?
Okay, I was born in St. Paul, August 14th, 1931, to an unwed mother, Susan Viral, and she was going with my dad and got pregnant, and they were not married when I was born. They got married October 10th, 1931. And my dad, it was Leo C. Cosman. And I know my mom must have been kicked out of her home because after I was born, she took me and went and lived with my Aunt Stella, who I'm named after. She's my godmother. So I think Aunt Stella was already married then to Harvey Chandler, and he's my godfather. So I don't know how long they were there, and then after they were married, they rented a house, and my dad was a truck mechanic all his life, car mechanic, truck mechanic, whatever. He was really good at that, and that's what he did all his life. And we too rented houses until I was about 10, and then they bought the house on Hatch where was our family home from then on. So my mom always stayed home and took care of our kids her kids, us kids, until later years. Then she went and got a job after we were all, in fact, I was in high school and wanted to get out of high school. I hated it. I went until just a freshman. And then Mom signed papers saying that I was needed at home because she had to go to work. So that's how I got out of high school. And she did make me stay home, clean the house, and I had to make suppers. My dad teased me all the time about all I knew how to make was hamburger. But when I think about it now, that must have been what was there, huh? I made what was there. But anyway, I went to public schools all the time, too, until about 6th or 7th grade, because then it was time to get to communion and confirmation. So then, by then I had siblings too, which Jim was after me, born in 33, and Leo, who was Judd, was born in 34. Jerry was born in 36, and Lois, 40, and then Terry in 49. And, but we all went to St. Bernard's then, and I was 15 when Dad got out of the service, and he was a friend of the family's because he had been engaged to my Aunt Frances Byra, who he had met at the textile, and a lot of my relation lived there too. Worked there too. That's where he met Frances, and they were engaged to be married when he went in service. And she got pregnant, and I'm not even going to say with whom or what. She got pregnant while Bob was in the service, and
the guys that come home first, not all the girls.
He must have went in before you, and he got out before him. But anyway, she got pregnant, and she married this other guy. And so when Bob come home, he was a friend of our family's because we had all kept writing to him over in India, and we had kind of a tentative date when he would come home. He was going to ask my mom and dad if he could take me to the show or something. And of course, like I said, I always admired him and loved him, and envied Frances, that boyfriend she had. But she was the same age as Bob, which is 9 years older than I am. So at the time, I really didn't think there was much of a chance of any kind of a future because he was so much older than I was. But we started going together and knew we loved each other. And so we went and seen the priest. I was just going to turn 16, and we knew we wanted to get married. And him and I went to the priest together, and he said, "Oh, no, I could never marry you at 16 because you'd be throwing milk bottles at me in a couple of years," is what he said, thinking I was going to have kids and be sorry. So I told him, "Well, if you don't marry us, then we're going to go get married by just a peace, and we'll come back later on and have our marriage blessed." And Well, he didn't want to hear that either, and then he told me, he says, you know, you have more brains from this conversation than a lot of older girls that come in here, he said. So I'm going to go ahead and take a chance and marry you. So we set our date for September 13th, 1947. Bob had gotten out in April of 46, so, you know, it was a whole year. Well, he had to wait that long until I turned 16 in August anyway. So, and my mom had married, I think Mom was 17 when she got pregnant. My grandma was 18 when she got married. And them too, my mom was 10 years younger than my dad. My grandma was 10 years younger than my grandpa.
What was your grandma's name?
Anna Byro. And my grandpa's name was, I said the other day it was Joseph, but it was Anton Joseph Byro. Anta and Anna. Oh, and I love my grandparents. Loved it so much. My grandpa died when Gary was 3 weeks old. But, you know, then I was 17. So I was young, but them 17 years I had them, I loved them to pieces. And my grandma lived until she was 80 and I never remarried. And I just loved her to pieces too. I was her first and oldest grandchild, and I think I was special too with her. And at least she always made me feel very, very special. Okay, so we get back to the wedding. We had a big wedding for 1947. We got married at 8:30 in the morning at St. Bernard's Church, and all of our relatives were there, and my dad was going to give me away, and Judd messed things up that morning at home, and so they were late. He didn't want to get out of bed. He didn't want to get ready, and he was just a brat. So my dad took me to church and dropped me off, and then he went back to get the rest of the family. And when the organ started, my dad wasn't there, so I had to walk down the aisle alone, and I forgot to put lipstick on. I was so nervous, and, you know, no one there to help me do these things. I don't know. I had Eileen, my aunt, Eileen Byro was my maid of honor, and Rose was a bridesmaid, Bob's sister Rose. And he had his brother Mars for best man, and my uncle Eugene, who Eileen and Eugene were twins, and they're the same age as I am. We're just a couple months apart. Why one of them girls didn't tell me I didn't have lipstick on, I don't know. But anyway, after church, we went to a studio. They didn't have photographers that followed you around. We went to Lou, who was a very well-known, expensive photographer, one of the best. We went to Lou and had our pictures taken, and you'll see that on all our wedding pictures. It's down on the bottom. Then we came back to Mom's, and we had a brunch, a breakfast lunch thing. And then we had a chicken dinner, a sit-down dinner at this Oddfellows Hall. It was right across from where St. Joseph's Hospital is today, down there on Exchange Street in St. Paul. We had it catered, which was unheard of in them days. It was a friend of mine's mother. And, of course, we had gotten all our chickens from Bob's aunt on the farm. And this caterer didn't know that they were old hens, and she tried to fry them, and it was so tough you couldn't hardly. I don't know if anybody ate a piece of chicken that day. It was so tough. But we had the mashed potatoes and the vegetable and wedding cake and just the whole thing. And then our neighbor, Mr. Norman Kavir, played violin, and he had an accordion player that played with him. And that was our music. It was really a big, big wedding for them times. One of the biggest in our family up to that point. So, and then Gary was born October of 48. We got married in September 47. I'm going to point this out because, we were married a year and a month, which is 13 months when Gary was born, because everybody said, oh, and talking about relatives, she must be pregnant. Sue would never let her get pregnant and married at 16. And boy, never would I have gotten pregnant before proof that they were right. I made doggone sure of that. So Gary was born October 48, and then we lived on 400 2nd Avenue South. Bob worked at Armour's, and it was just little 2 rooms, and we shared a bath with another couple.
At that time, right after the war was over, there was no apartment. There was no way to get an apartment. And due to this, I worked with this guy, and he told me, he said, hey, I got 2 rooms that's going to be empty. You want to rent it? So we rented them 2 rooms. Otherwise, there was no apartment to be given out.
And I think the rent was like $28 a month there, something like that. And it was real nice, clean. It was a private home, and then the upstairs they just had split into 2 apartments. And he had 2 little houses out in back of his property that he rented to. He really made a lot of money on the side. Smart. But it was nice. And we had our own private entrance. And then we had Debbie there. And she was born while we lived there. She was born on January 21st, 1950. And then we had to find something else because there was no place. I had her in the bassinet and Gary in a crib in our bedroom. Mm-hmm. So we found the house on 129 9th. It was a duplex. And it was doggone near condemned. But we got it for $4,700. Got our loan at the Armour Credit Union. No, we didn't.
Yep.
No, it was at that United Federal or what did we have there then? Well, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, we paid $4,700 for that one, and we rented out the upstairs for $40. So we were paying $7 a month. And then we had 2 big bedrooms. And that was, did I say 129 9? Okay. And I didn't drive it this time, so, and Bob always took the car to work, but it was about that time when I started to learn how to drive. And then if he walked to work, I would have the car during the day. And got pregnant with Val shortly after that. She was born in December of 52. And then Roxy was born in August of 57. No, just a minute. Repeat myself. Roxy was born in August of 57. And then I got pregnant again.
Watch late night, so you know how long you are.
I got pregnant again, and we knew we were outgrowing that house over there with our 2 bedrooms, but we always had 2 bunk beds in the kids' room with a great big toy box, and we had a crib in our room all the time. So that took care of the 5. But we saw this house across the alley for sale, and it was beautiful compared to our duplex over there. So we looked into it and fell in love with it, and it was for sale, and it was $13,000, and that was in 1957. We bought it, and then I was pregnant with Glenn when we moved in here in May, and he was born in October. And then Laura was born in 1961. So, and they were all born in St. Paul at Bethesda Hospital, except Laura was born at St. John's.
Did you go over that one?
Val?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I said.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I said them all now.
Okay.
But anyway, they all went to St. Augustine School. We didn't have a kindergarten at St. Augustine, so some of the older ones, I don't know, maybe all of them, had to go to public kindergarten, which was just a couple blocks from here. And then at that time, too, we had 8 grades at St. Augustine, so they didn't go to high school until they went into the high school. So they all made their first communion and confirmation, and here Val was married there the first time to Mario in St. Augustine's. Debbie was married at St. Augustine's. And Laura was married at St. Augustine's. Gary was married out at St. Rose of Lima because Bonnie had turned Catholic with Father Whitted out there. He was her instructor, and that's where they chose to have their wedding. And Roxy got married at St. Pat's in Invergrove Heights, Roxy and Mark. Okay, so now what?
Why don't you talk about,
No, that's right.
okay. Why don't you talk about, like your crib from learning from his mom and how you guys celebrated Christmas, your traditions that you kept up, and your relationship with your kids as it followed through with you and your parents.
Our Christmases were not wholly like Bob's were. We never had a crib. I never seen anything like that until we got married the first year. The first year Bob and I went and bought statues, raw statues in downtown St. Paul someplace. We had to go upstairs where this guy made them. He had the forms and molds, and we bought a set, and that winter him and I painted them all before Christmas time. We bought the paints, and they're still just like that, just how we painted them. And Grandpa made a log cabin church, and he made a little bridge, and he put blue silky material, and then it was like saran wrap, but there wasn't such a thing as saran wrap in 1947. It was cellophane. A piece of cellophane over to make it look like a river, and but then all the rest was cotton, like snow, and it was just beautiful. And we do have black and white pictures of that. And from then on, every year we had a nativity scene, and he got bigger and better every year. But we still have the same statues that we painted in 1947. And I think on the last tape we talked about God, when we knew God was in our life, I knew of course I knew all the time, but when I got married, when I made my wedding vows, I know God was there, and I know I was promising him directly that I would stay married until I died, and all them vows. It was very, very important to me because my folks didn't go to church, and I envied kids whose parents did go, because I remember making my first communion, and my mom got me all ready. Of course, they borrowed a dress. I think it was Henrietta's or somebody who had made their communion before me, but it was important because I looked so beautiful in my white dress and veil, and she didn't even go to church with me, but she, like I say, she got me ready, and she made it special that way. But I knew when I got married that things were going to be different when I had a family, that I was going to be with my kids at church, and it was going to be an important part of their life. And we never, at home, never ever huggy and kissy. I do remember my dad taking me alone to first grade, and he'd stop on the corner where the patrols were, the schoolboys, with the cops, and he'd kiss me goodbye in the car, and the boys always saw that, and I remember how proud I was. That's the only time, until the day I got married, my dad did kiss me on my wedding day. But other than that, we were not a kissy, huggy family either. And we did it. Bob and I did that a lot with our kids when they were young. And I did with every grandchild. I still do. If I'm around one of my little grandchildren now, I just, I'll tell them I love them 5-6 times in a couple hours. But and hug them and kiss them and snuggle. But after they get a certain age, it's just like, oh no, I don't know what that is. So I think I got way off the track here. I forgot what I was talking.
Well, you were talking about God and your guys' life and how you continued that through.
Yeah.
Talk with love.
Okay.
There's no light there.
Now, do either of you have any regrets from any of the decisions that you made so far?
Heaven, no.
Gramps?
Not one. I don't think I would change a thing.
No, I don't say. The only thing is, maybe my job at Harmer's, now that I had a different job, like building maintenance, a boiler engineer, I think I would have liked to got into it when I was younger, because it was a whole lot easier job, nice and warm in the winter, in the summer, and just a cleaner job and stuff like that than what I had. But I don't know how that would have planned out. Maybe I wouldn't have made the money I did at Armas, And so I'll just be good enough alone and just, I'd say it's good.
How much were you making at Armour's when you retired? An hour, about?
Oh, I got no idea what.
I'd say about 10, I think.
Yeah, about 10.
And then how about when you retired from the hospital?
Well, I was making 13, but.
No, it was 16.
Was it 16?
I think it was 1697, something like that.
Oh, of course, it's different in time.
Well, time and years, yeah. But from 17 cents to an hour to almost $17 an hour in them.
Yeah.
It was a big. Okay.
What do you think your biggest accomplishments were?
Raised 6 kids.
Raising 6 kids, buying 2 homes and paying for them. This one was paid for a long, long time already. And like I say, every year since 1963 when we bought a car, it was a brand new car. And we took lots and lots of trips with our kids and without our kids. Every year we went out for a week by ourselves. Bob's mom would keep the kids, no matter how many, 5, 6, whatever. And a lot of times after Deb and Gary got older too, they would stay home with the kids. And we'd go, even after Debbie was married, she did that. So, and we're very, very proud of all of our kids, every single one of them. I don't know, Gary, and he had the farm, which was such an important part of all of our lives. We'll never, ever forget it. I just yesterday read Laura this little piece, newspaper clipping, hid it here off the side of the refrigerator. I read it to her to see what her first impression was. A little tiny thing, honey, the newspaper. And it is, do you know how it is in the wintertime at night in the country under a full moon? When I read that sentence, the first thing that came to my mind was out at my grandma's. All those kids after supper would get our clothes on in the winter and we'd go tobogganing and sledding. And you could see for 2 miles the sun was so bright and it was cold and crisp and white. And when I called Henrietta, because she was one of us kids, at Grandma's, and I read that to her, I said, now tell me right away, what do you think? And she said, skating on Lake Vadnais. Well, these 2 places were about a block apart, maybe 2 blocks. And that too, we would take a shovel and shovel a piece off on the lake, and then we'd all ice skate together under the moonlight. And I think, like my little great-grandchildren, and even my youngest grandchildren, they'll never know that. Because the kids are never allowed out alone at all now, and then especially at night, where you go a mile or 2 away from your house and be safe,
You know, when we were kids in the wintertime, you know, you're talking about this here at night. My folks used to go visit, you know, like my grandmother or something like that. They used to hitch up the horses on the sled because we couldn't get out with the car. County roads are maybe blocked up or something like that. And you get the straw and in the this box on the sled, and we'd all get in there, and then we covered up with the blankets, and we'd go to our grandparents, you know. And of course, and sometimes we get home pretty late at night, you know, and it was like you said, with the reading,
The moonlight.
and everything, and you hear that horses, you know, with the crunch underneath their feet, and we'd be nice and warm in the straw and stuff like that. The only thing is, once you got home, you know, my dad would have to unhitch the horse and put him in the barn. You know, it was a lot of work, you know, but I can still picture that, you know, what we did.
And anyway, then yesterday I said that to Laura. I was just reading this to her, and she said, "Oh, and my first impression was the farm. So many nights we were out at nights sledding, and then too I could remember we could be in the backyard by the back porch at the farm and look way up and see that apple tree way up on top of the hill. It was so bright, and." You know, like Isabel and these kids, I don't know if they're ever going to see anything or know that wonderful feeling. But anyway, Gary, no matter if it ended in divorce or what, he brought years and years of happiness. Our kids and their horses, you know, right through the grandchildren, Monique and all of them, they all got to ride horses. None of that would have been possible without Gary and Bonnie. And even now, his gorgeous little house and how clean he keeps it. I am just so proud of him. And Deb too, you know, going to beauty school and being a beautician and going to West and starting out in that cafeteria and where she is today as a photographer. Like I say, if I pride is a sin, I am going to go to hell. I am so guilty of pride for my children. Val, how she raised them 3 kids alone, 4 kids alone, especially after Heidi was, she did just such a wonderful job on the kids. And now today, what she has accomplished in her beautiful home and beautiful husband, and well, they all have. Deb's got a beautiful husband too. We can't let that out. And her kids. Oh God, all these kids. Well, I'll get to them after I'm done with my own kids. Roxy, and how brave she was to Chase's ordeal with his cancer, which just about devastated all of us. I just thank God that we were available to be with her as much as we were. We took care of Emily while Roxy was in the hospital almost a whole year. They were in and out of the hospital constantly. And it's not only that, it's everything. Her achievements in her job today and her home and her family, her husband, and Glenn, that biggest stinker of them all, never married. And of course, that's always a concern for me. I'm just scared to death he's going to be lonesome someday, but I hope and pray with all the nieces and nephews, and you know, he's just like the Pied Piper. The kids all love him to pieces. And he knows that. He knows how much he's loved, even if he never had a wife to tell him that. It was just a big waste. I think he should have been married for 20 years already and sharing his personality and his love and his job. He's got a wonderful job. Even though he hates it, I thank God every day for his job. I'm proud that he works for the St. Paul Post Office. And Laura, too, Ryan asked at one point how naughty his mama was. And I hate to disappoint you, Ryan, but she wasn't one bit naughty. Of course, none of our kids were really naughty. Not one of them. I could take them anywhere. And I think they learned that early on, even going to church. I know we went to St. Bernard's once. And it was Evel. She was so naughty in church. And Dad never said too much, but he took her outside of that church. And when they came back in, she was going, and never misbehaved again. When her dad had to do it, it really meant a whole lot. So, no, Ryan, your mama was not naughty. She was the most meek and mild little kid. When she started school, she got depressed because she had to leave home, and when Debbie got married, she got depressed again because Debbie was leaving our house. She never wanted anybody to leave. She wanted it always to stay the same. So, and she too has accomplished so much. I'm so proud of her in her job and her marriage, and Tom's illness. It's been hard on every one of them, but they're dealing with it so well. And them too with that preemie marriage, and Tom turning Catholic for her. That meant so much to me too, and it always will. I'm so proud of the way they brought up the boys. They're both Mass servers now at St. Augustine's, and whenever I see them up there on that altar, I just have to cry. And they belong to the Fatima group, and Robbie carries up the statue. He just did that last week while Ryan and another little boy carried the candles. And I could almost burst. I am so proud of them. Proud of Monique and Paul being our first ones to go to college. And they did it. They stuck it out there 5 years. And of course, Monique met this wonderful guy there. And we love him to pieces too. He got married, had such a beautiful wedding. Paul never got married, but he stuck his college out, and he's doing just fine too. Love him to pieces. Aunt Chan staying home with her kids now, and such a successful marriage and beautiful new home. And Mark completing 4 years in the Marines. Is the only one that of all of us, well, I guess there was Grandpa and Bob Shoemaker. I don't know if anybody else. Mario, the kid's dad, was in Vietnam. I don't know what war Bob was in, probably Korean. But, Vietnam. Okay, so we're running to the end here. I feel like I'm getting rushed.
We can go into another tape if you like.
I think we're going to have to go into another tape. Manny and Marty, too, marrying so well. Such beautiful women and such beautiful, beautiful children. And they all have their kids baptized. That means so much to us. Like I said often, you've got to have God in their lives, kids. I really mean it. If you don't, you're going to have trouble. You got to teach them to love God and obey Him and know that God loves them, kids. They got to hear that. Heidi, we love her to pieces. I wish she had finished high school, and that's no secret. Everybody knows that I wish that with all my heart. But I'm not one to talk because I didn't finish either. And she keeps up the way she is. I'm sure it's not going to make any difference either way because she can be a huge success anyway. And right now she is. She's proving that. Marty's cancer, that was Oh, Marty and Chase's cancer were such devastating times in our lives. And I got that all on there, that she is going to be successful, I have no doubt. And then we have our little Emily that I have not mentioned. She's just such a well-adjusted little kid. Everybody worried about her when Chase had cancer and that he got all the attention for a year, and did that affect her and her behavior? Not at all. I don't think she even knew anything was wrong, because when she wasn't with her mom and daddy, she was with grandma and grandpa, and she was getting loved and cared for no matter where she was. And she's doing really well in school. She's a wonderful skater. And she was a long-awaited little girl, you know. Girls were few and far between in our family. We had with grandchildren, Monique and Shan, and then none until Heidi. And then there was none until Emily. And then I don't know how many boys we got in there. And then there's Isabel, and now little Anna. But what is there out of the 12 and 9 that and grandchildren and grandchildren, I think there are only the 5 or 6 girls, and all the rest were boys, and they're all beautiful. Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention was Monique being sent to India for her work, and it was just so ironic that of all places in the world she would be sent would be to the same place Grandpa was stationed while he was in the Second World War. And I don't think it was in the same territory as Grandpa was. I think he was up north further. But she was there on September 11th, and when they quit all air travel, and so help me God, Grandpa and Grandma darn near died. We were so worried about her. But then she'd call us and tell us that she was okay, and we had nothing to worry about, except we knew that there were no airplanes flying, and we knew she couldn't walk or drive. So until that got straightened out, she was gone. And then when she did get home, Grandpa had already had a stroke. But she came to the hospital right away to see him and assure us that she was still the same Monique. And one morning she even stopped in there on her way to work and had breakfast with him while he was in the hospital. That was really neat. And also, at that time when they stopped all air travel, Marty was in North Dakota or South Dakota. And until I found out that they had drove and he wasn't going to get stuck there because of no air travel. But yeah, there's been so many things. I could talk here for a week and not hit on all the high points, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by leaving something really important out. But, you know, I don't intend to die anytime soon, and neither does Grandpa, so we can always add to this. Another thing is the cabin, and Ely, Lauren, Tom's, and Glenn's cabin. We absolutely love it. We've had a year, or what is it already, 2 years of just lots and lots of enjoyment. I never worked very hard. You know, Grandpa worked when he got there lots of times, but it wasn't anything he minded, nothing he had to do. He enjoyed doing what he was doing. In all the years of camping with our kids, we've seen so many things, so many nice things, and our kids made so many good friends. And I think some of the very special times was when Deb and I would be down at Hidden Valley with all the older grandchildren, Monique and Paul and Matt and Mark and Marty and Manny and Shan, yeah, all the older ones. And them were the fun time when we'd sit around the fire and Deb would tell spooky stories. And
we take walks in the woods.
Yeah, we took a walk every day. Well, not only in the woods, we'd go down to the dam. Remember the day you all went sliding off the dam? Well, I almost died that day too, standing on shore watching all my kids sliding down this dangerous dam. But we had the times of our lives. And then we'd come back and make hobo dinners over the campfire, and the girls would all have to, I don't know if the boys did too. I think Debbie and I cleaned vegetables, and then you had to arrange them in the tin foil.
Mm-hmm.
And Monique always had her stupid allergies. She wasn't much of a camper as far as that went, but she loved all the activities and the swimming. And or didn't you like swimming in the Canyon River?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So that and another thing was that story Debbie told at the cabin this one night. We're all sitting around the living room, and she's telling the story, and everybody was falling off a cliff and everything else. And what happened? Did you fall? Or you went to help Robbie or something? Oh, you had a heart attack. In her story, Grandpa. And Ryan just started to cry because Grandpa had a heart attack. So, and we're all connected so tight that we were all crying by the time it was over because Ryan was so upset about Grandpa getting a heart attack in Debbie's story. And another horrible time in our life was Matt's death. I don't ever remember anything so horrible. That was the worst thing ever. My mom and dad died, my two brothers died, my grandparents had died, and lots of aunts and uncles died, but nothing was ever as horrible as the morning I was told Matt was dead. And, when Josh was born out of wedlock, I guess we didn't see too much good in it, and now I know that had to be because he left part of himself here for us to love. And he is so much like his daddy. It's just like a carbon copy. I just love the kid to death. And one time when we were coming back from camping up north, I said to Josh, Gary, and Josh and I were in a cab of Gary's truck, and I said, "Oh, I'm so glad you came along, honey." And he said, "Why?" "Because I remind you of my dad." Well, I'm going to continue this. It's like a month later. Now it's April 21st. Then I'll get back to Josh. He's in 4th grade now, 2002. Doing really, really well. Good reader, unlike his daddy. And we're so thankful for that. And Lisa got married to Troy, and we're so happy about that. Troy's a real good stepdad. And now he has a little half-brother, Jared. And we don't know too much about Jared yet, or haven't seen him too much. But the one time I did see him, he was just absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm just going to go over, I re-listened to it, and one time I said sun when I meant the moon. I don't know if it was on that little saying about what do you think of at night when it's cold out. I don't know where I said it, but one time I said sun when I meant the moon. I got down here told of all pregnancies and where born. I don't know what that's about anymore either. I guess I'll have to look at it or listen to it again. And I never mentioned Glenn having a beautiful home and in partnership with the cabin up at Ely. We're very, very proud of him. And what was it the other day? He said it was his, how many years with the post office? 20? No, I think it was his 20th year with the post office. Grandpa thinks it might be a little bit more than that. But Glenn, like Paul, I'm afraid they'll be lonesome someday without getting married and having a big family. But then who am I to say? It's up to them, I guess. And Laura, I said preemie marriage, and I meant the birth. She's been through a lot having Robbie as a preemie. That first month was so hectic and heartbreaking, just having to leave him there. And all of the beautiful weddings, every single one of them was unique and beautiful. Every one of our kids and our grandchildren. I was very, very proud of them all. Then Mark and Misty were in Hawaii on September 11th also. That was real scary. But they decided to come home that day, and maybe I should be thankful. Can't be thankful it happened because it was so tragic, but at least Mark and Misty decided to come home for good. And that makes me very, very happy. I love it when he walks in here and I can give him lunch and just sit and visit. I love it, love it, love it. So now I said it's April 20th, 2000, and Monique is back in India and won't be home until May 8th. Just have to pray really, really hard that everything stays settled over there and she gets home safe and sound. And I don't know much else. I talked to Isabel last night, and she is such a big girl already. She told me she has 5 responsibilities. One is to help Daddy, and one was to be good, and she couldn't think of the other one. So cute. I talked to Blake too, but he was just getting over falling. Okay. I think that's about all that we're going to put on here for now. I think it's ready to be copied for everybody. So I'm going to sign off and just say we love you all, and always make us proud. And, just be good.